Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of lesson 4. You may recognize this form from the previous part. What we're going to do in this part, or in this section, is add this button called remove selected, and that's going to allow us to actually just remove selected entries from our table. So if we submit this right here, we can actually go ahead and select any one of these really, and we can click remove selected and the entire row is gone. So let's see what we can do to modify our existing script to accommodate that. So the first thing we want to do is we want to add this remove selected button right here. So we're going to go to where all of the rest of our buttons are. We have our submit button right here, and we're going to go ahead and add remove button equals new J button. And we're going to say remove selected. And actually what we need to do is we're going to go ahead and add another class variable. So we have submit button. We're going to add remove button as well. So we've got that, and we need to add a semicolon right here. And we're going to go ahead and add that to our form panel. That basically holds everything in our form. So we're going to do form panel.add and then remove button. And we're good to go. So that's being added to this same form panel that's going to be up here in the north of our window. So now that we've done that, we basically need to do the same thing right here. We need to add an action listener to our remove button and then subsequently remove any selected row. So I'm just going to copy this and paste right here. And all of this is going to stay the same except for we're going to change this. We're going to have remove button. And we're going to get rid of the code inside the action perform method, which is where anything we want to do, any action we want to trigger for a button is actually going to be placed. So inside there, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to say int selected rows equals. So this is an array of selected rows, an integer array of selected rows, basically the indices of whichever rows you've selected. So we could actually select multiple rows and then remove them if you wanted to. And we're going to set that equal to table.getSelectedRows. So actually we have our table object that we created. So we have this table object that we created from our table model. And using that, we can get access to a getSelectedRows function to basically get the indices of all the rows in our table that have been selected. Then once we do that, we're actually going to use a loop in order to remove all of those rows. So we're going to say for, we're going to use a for loop, for int I equals selected rows dot length -1. So we're starting with the highest, we're starting at basically the last selected row. So for example, if there are 3 rows, we're starting at the 3rd row that we selected. That's because we're basically initializing our loop variable to selected rows dot length -1, which is at the end of the array. We're going to say while I is greater than or equal to 0, I minus minus. And inside that loop, we can go ahead and do table model. So we are basically getting the rows that were selected from our table object, but we're using our table model to actually remove those rows. So we're going to say table model.remove row, and then selected row I. So we're basically getting the entirety of that row, and that's going to be the parameter for the remove row function on our table model. And that's how we get the job done. So that's about it for this. Let's go ahead and test it out and play around with this functionality a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and close the sample application. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just run this. Okay, and we've got a compilation error right here. Let's see if there's any errors that we forgot to address. Okay, so right here it says, if you look right here, it says line 49, can't find symbol. So you can go down to line, okay, so this has got to be new J button right there. That's our error. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this and then go ahead and run it again. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's add multiple email addresses actually. So let's say @gmail.com and submit that. And let's just say johnj@gmail.com. Submit that. I'm going to select this and remove selected, and they're all gone. Anyways, that's how we can actually remove elements from a table. I'll see you in the next lesson.